Hey, welcome back to my channel today. And today, I got another good video for y'all today. But today, we're going to be talking about a topic that is really chaotic, really stupid, and it just really doesn't make sense at all. Because this topic that I'm finna talk about, it's just really odd. Like the whole story behind everything that happened. But before I get into the story, I just need to talk about how they did bad things back in the day to these black people, and they just really didn't care. Even if we were so-called free, they still wanted us to be segregated into our own spots. And that should, give you the hint to the story I'm talking about today. Today, I will be talking about a story that it was a law, and it was called Jim Crow. And the Jim Crow law, it was in the United States from the 19th century until the mid 1960s, where they abolished it and said, hey, we're going to let these people be in the same school as each other. But let's get started to the brutal facts about this story. So this story, it dates back to the 1820s. And this was the term originated from Jim Crow, a racist 1820 song and dance routine performed by a white actor named Thomas Dartmouth Rice in blackface. Over time, the name became a derogatory slang term for black people, and was eventually attached to the system of laws designed to enforce white supremacy. So basically, what this segment that I just read, it was basically telling me about, hey, you know, this is where the story, it begun, and it was basically telling us about how the dude, it was an actor, he painted himself in blackface. And if you're not familiar with the word blackface or the thing that is blackface, blackface is one of the most disgusting, one of the most hateful, one of the most worst things a person could ever do to a person. You're impersonating a black person, doing things that we don't do, and just walking around singing, trying to make racist jokes at these black people to make them feel bad about themselves. And one thing I didn't understand about these back in the day, what did they hate about black people so bad that made them want to just, hey, I'm sitting here, I'm going to be racist, I'm going to make these laws. Who wants to sit at the back of the bus? Who wants to sit? I mean, personally, I'm on the bus, I'm probably sitting at the back. But back in the day, why would you want to separate yourself from people that is the same as you? The only thing that's different is their color. Why would you want to separate yourself from that? What can they possibly do to you that you can't do to me? You know what I'm saying? Like, you got Rosa Parks. You got Martin Luther King. You got all those people that fought for what they wanted, which was their respect and their equal, being equal with each other. They was fighting for their equality. That's what I was trying to say. And this is the laws and the daily restrictions of the Jim Crow law. So the Jim Crow was more than just a segregated facilities. It was a total way of life enforced by the law. The threat of violence, yeah, it was basically something enforced by the law, and it was a threat of violence. And the public segregation mandated separate schools, transportations, restaurants, hospitals, and public restrooms for black and white Americans. These separate facilities were rarely equal. So basically what this segment is saying is they wanted the schools to be separate. They wanted the black people to go to their own school. They wanted the white people to go to their own school. They wanted the black people to drink out of their own water fountain. They wanted the white people to drink out of their water fountain. They just didn't care about the way they were treating the black people. How are you going to abolish slavery? You know what I'm saying? You abolish slavery, right? Let's just put it like this. You abolish slavery, and these other years back, you just choose to, hey, I don't think black people and white people should be eating in the same room, talking in the same room, using the same bathroom. What was the point of that if you wanted to have the black people so-called freed? If we were so-called freed, then why did we have to do things according to what the law says, according to what these people say, according to what they think about us, according to what not only their feelings, but their character? It really was a character thing to this, because how would you treat people like this? And it's like this era, the Jim Crow era in general, was just stupid and very weird, because you're going around treating black people all these types of ways. You're lynching them. Keep in mind, all because they broke a Jim Crow law. So if they went to the white restroom, the restroom that said it was a bathroom, It was a bathroom label, white, colored. They wanted the black people to go to the colored bathrooms. Let's just say the black person, walked in a white bathroom. If they caught that black person walking in that bathroom, they would get lynched. They would get in trouble for breaking the Jim Crow law. And listen to this. These people that lynched these black Americans, they got in no trouble for it. They just doing what they just made it basically a laughing stock. They made black people a laughing stock. They tried to make it a trend to treat us like we were just nobody. And blackface. Don't even get me started on blackface. Blackface is probably one of the most disgusting things that has ever happened in history. And like this guy, Thomas Dartmouth, he made this character, and this all originated just because they saw the character and they named it Jim Crow Law because it was just so racist and it didn't make sense. Like the slurs they used to call black people back in the day, they just didn't like black people for some odd reason. Like, what did we possibly do to you to make you want to, hate us in this type of way, treat us this type of way? We literally knew anything but try to love. We just wanted to have fun. We wanted to be so-called free, or as they call it, just equal. But none of this stuff was fairly equal at all. The system was messed up. The president, I don't even think he stepped in to do anything about this until like probably the 1960s, the mid 1960s. But the system was messed up. They didn't want anything for the black people. They didn't want them to have great jobs. They didn't want us to have great houses. They wanted to stop us from having whatever we wanted. And it's like these laws were just so it was just weird. Let's just put it like that. And the enforcement of this Jim Crow law, the system was legally backed by the U.S. Supreme Court's 1896 ruling in Plesley v. Ferguson, which established the separate but equal doctrine beyond the legal framework. Daily enforcement relied heavily on strict unwritten social rules for interactions between black and white people, alongside the constant threat of extrajudicial violence and lynching by white supremacist groups. As I was just saying, they lynched these people because they didn't want us talking to their people. It reminds you of a story, but I might do a video on that. But it reminds me of a story about this guy, this young 15-year-old. He got framed because of what they thought he said to this woman. It was a black American young kid. He got beat on all because of what some white woman on the street said about him. And come to find out, years later, let me adjust my mic. Come to find out some years later, this decade, the lady, she's dead now. But come to find out, he did none of that stuff she said. She only did this to antagonize him and make him feel bad about himself. And that's one thing people don't understand. Some stuff, people are still this way in this generation. And it's like people, they just don't understand just to let people do what they want to do. But I guess they enforced this law to really stop black people's blessings. And I'm glad they stopped doing things like this, because there's no reason to do stuff like this. Everyone should be free. Everyone should have an equal law. Everyone should be able to do what the next person is able to do, no matter their race, gender, disability, anything. We should still be equal in the same ways. But sad to say, people still don't want it that way. They don't want it that way at all in this generation. They never, ever wanted it that way. Actually, I feel like people were very, very offended just because they abolished this law. But black people, they stay strong, stick together, and they fight back because of things like this. Like, this was just so racist, the thing they used to do. They used to say racist jokes to us black people. Man, don't even get me started. It was just a whole bunch of things that I just can't explain. Like, it's just stupid. Like, this whole Jim Crow song, dance, routine, all that, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I feel like did what we had to do. And the rebellion stories, too. Think about that. Black people went through a lot back in the day. They had to slave for people. Didn't get fed. Didn't get paid. And then you telling me in the mid 1960s, when like a few decades before the slaves got freed, you want to bring a law called the Jim Crow law just to make black people feel even more bad about themselves. They thought they were just somebody that didn't even deserve to have a right, all because of this one law and this racist character. The system was messed up for us black folks back in the day. And it is sad. Not even that. That's not even the worst part. Black people and white people couldn't get married. It was illegal back in the day. Things like that, they were very crazy. Those times were very hectic. I'm glad those times stopped and everybody locked in, but still not over yet. There's still stuff that needs to be figured out, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Other than that, I'm glad y'all watched this video. I hope y'all learned something. I hope y'all stay strong. But other than that, I will see y'all in my next video. Peace.